Jumbo,
Jumbo.
welcome. You are listening, joining, viewing Operation Power, a voice for Black radical politics
Right.
and revolutionary change. We're so glad that you've joined us. We're here each Thursday at 7 p.m. on Black Power Media Reloaded. And we're pleased to be a part of the family and bringing all of these programs to you for your viewing pleasure. My name is Inez Barron, and I am the co host along with my husband, the bold, the outspoken, the indomitable, the one, the only, the unbought, and the unbossed.
Charles Barron. And as I say each and every week, it's an honor to be on with the stunningly beautiful,
Thank you,
intellectually brilliant, love of my life for 43 years of marriage, the bold, beautiful Inez Barron.
We're so glad that you're here with us, and we've got an exciting program that we're going to be talking about, and we are calling it We Are Mighty Builders.
Yes, we are.
And we're talking about strong African communities from Timbuktu to Tulsa to Weeksville that our ancestors have established, and we're going to be talking about them today. We got an exciting program. We hope that you stay tuned and call someone and let them know that this program is on the air. We do want to start our program, as we usually do, with a libation. We understand that we are where we are, accomplished as much as we have because of our ancestors, the sacrifices that they made over the years, over the decades, the contributions that they made, the buildings that they have established, the institutions they have made and passed on to us, the knowledge that we have now, and we want to acknowledge them. And we have this video which gives tribute to our ancestors.
For African people, nothing important happens without a libation. And so for this very important presentation, we begin by the pouring of libation. We pour libation first to our first ancestor, to that hidden one who, though hidden, manifests in all things as all things, that God-goddess idea in the universe by any and all names. To our first ancestor, we pour libation, Ashe. We pour libation too to our ancestors because they were the first people on this planet, mothers and fathers of all mankind, flashpoint of the human family. To those ancestors, we pour libation, Ashe. Pour libation too to our ancestors because they were the ones who first gave birth to the idea of civilization, knew we would need a form of governance, and they nurtured that idea along the Nile until it reached its zenith in Kemet. There they built these gigantic monuments as evidence of that great civilization, and they carved instructions on the walls of temples and tombs for us, so we would never forget. To those ancestors, we pour libation, Ashe. Pour libation too to our ancestors because over time they put together all the tenets of civilization, and they took those ideas and left the continent. They were the people of the first Exodus. They left Africa and went all over the world and peopled the world. To those ancestors, we pour libation, Ashe. We pour libation too to our ancestors because they did not sit on their laurels. They continued to improve, continued to evolve, and at each point of evolution, they again would leave the continent and settle and resettle the planet. They met themselves coming and going. To those ancestors, we pour libation, Ashe. Pour libation too to those ancestors because over time, they found themselves the object of a forced exodus when they were kidnapped, shackled, cargoed, shipped out of Africa and enslaved in diasporas around the world. To those ancestors, we pour libation, Ashe. Pour libation too to the ancestors left at home, the very young, the aged, the infirm, left to reinvent themselves, depleted of us, human resources. But they were enjoined by us in the diasporas, both objects of a global myopia that ruptured the soul of a people as it ravaged a continent. To those ancestors, we pour libation, Ashe. Pour libation too to those ancestors because over time they began to remember who and what they were. Because no matter where they had been dropped off, they still retained bits and pieces of who and what they were. They retained that African core that described them. They began to remember bits and pieces of a song. They began to remember lines from a rhythm. They began to remember dances that they did in ancient times. They began to remember those ancient drum beats that they now beat out on bare skin. And so to those ancestors, we pour libation. I shave. Pour libation too to them, because they then began to teach each other. They began to resurrect and reconstruct that history and that culture. They became the new Africans wherever they were. They became the new teachers, preachers, archaeologists, the new singers, dancers, the new drummers, the new Jaliyah. They reconstructed that history and our culture and became new Africans everywhere. So to those ancestors, we pour libation. Ashe.
Asheo.
Asheo.
We are mighty builders. We have great legacy. We have a great history. And we're going to be talking about a little of that as we move further into our program. But we do also want to let you know who we are, what Operation Power is, and some of our goals and our accomplishments. So we're going to share with you a brief video now about Operation Power.
Operation Power stands for people organizing and working for empowerment and respect.
Operation Power is a grassroots social justice organization founded by local community stakeholders, which includes activists, organizers, and leaders who understand that the system as it is currently structured is destroying us and our communities.
The system, the capitalist system, one that promotes human greed over human need, one that promotes profit over people, needs to be dismantled. These local community organizers recognize capitalism needs to be destroyed and replaced with socialism.
Operation Power was founded in 1997 with the understanding that uprooting capitalism needs to begin locally. Operation Power understood that our communities are the perfect vehicle to dismantle this parasitic capitalist system brick by brick, and the economic, political, and cultural institutions and other systems in place in our local community infrastructure. Whether it's the local school board, community board, city council, state assembly, all represents mechanisms to control the destiny of our people.
So that's a little snippet about Operation Power, people organizing and working for empowerment and respect. We're focused in the East New York community, the East New York section of Brooklyn, and we're so pleased to be able to share that with you. And we also want to invite you to purchase some of the books that we have found that are very relevant to our struggle. The first is by Charles Barron, and it is entitled Speaking Truth to Power. And it's a collection of articles and essays that have been written over time. And it's a part of leadership development included in the book as well. The second is written by Malika Jabali, and the title is It's Not You, It's Capitalism. Why It's Time to Break Up and How to Move On. It's a great primer as well as an extensive reading and analysis of capitalism. The third book we want to recommend to you is a novel. It is written by Kevin Barron, and it is entitled Black Rising. It's a page turner. Make sure you've got some time to commit, because you're not going to want to put it down until you finish. The second is a part of the trilogy written by Kevin Barron, and it's called Black Rising, Home and Abroad. And it continues with some of the themes and persons that were in the first of the trilogy. And the last book in the trilogy is called The Threat. All three written by Kevin Barron, and all of them are available online through Barnes and Nobles. Well, we've got an exciting program here. We are mighty builders. You know, they try to say that we didn't have culture, we didn't have history, we didn't have accomplishments, we didn't have anything. And that was the lie that they perpetrated for years, for centuries, for decades. And many people did not get exposure to the fact of some of the accomplishments and the institutions and communities that we built over time. So today, we're going to be exploring some of those communities that we built over the world, around the world.
And it's important because some of my colleagues complain that I never talk about the progress we made since slavery. They got a lot of nerve. Since slavery, anytime that you use enslavement as your point of reference to determine progress, everything seems like progress. So that encouraged us to put this together. We are mighty builders, so they can see what we did prior to slavery, pre-colonial period. Now, if you start off then and then see how much progress you've made now, when you used to run the world was yours, the resources of the world, we were rich. Well, you'll see in the presentation. Right now, I want to take a minute to acknowledge and pay my respects to my comrade in struggle, who I am still disheartened from and sad that he made his transition. And that's my brother, Khalid Rahim. We are going to do an entire program on him in the very near future. Got to get some dates together when his memorial is going to take place. But Khalid Rahim, he was a champion of quality education. He was a champion of reparations. He was a champion of freeing political prisoners. He was a champion for the liberation of Black people, whether it was his participation in the Black Panther Party in Philadelphia, the Black Liberation Movement, or whether it was his establishing, being the founder of the New African Independent Party, where he wanted and did put together a party that's still in existence now, and we're going to be supporting him 100% and keeping that party going. But my brother Khalid, he was the co-chairperson of a new development that we have, the National Black Radical Political Congress. He was our leader, along with Brother Namdi and Sister Dr. Joyce Maxwell. But we're going to keep that moving forward. So I wanted to take a minute to honor and express our heartfelt condolences to his family, Brother Khalid Rahim, and we'll be honoring with him with the entire program. Today, Ashe, we're focusing on we are mighty builders. We built the pyramids, we built the mighty Sphinx, we built the rock-hewn churches of Ethiopia, we built the first civilizations, the world came to us. So we're going to go to our video and show we are mighty builders, and Inez will take us through the beginning part of it after we get to our pre-colonial period. So that's the flyer. Next. We did Operation Power. Oh. You can go back to Dr. Henry Clark. Right. Dr. Clark said something very, very important that we should all listen to. If you start your history with slavery, then everything else you do will look like progress. The slave ships brought only African people, and most of us took the semblance of nationality from the places where the slave ships dropped us off. We must concentrate on where the slave ships picked us up, and that was from Africa. So we were all picked up from Africa, and that determines our identity, not where you were dropped off, but where you were picked up. Thank you, Dr. Clark, for that. Next.
Here we have some of the structures of ancient Africa. We have the University of Jen. We've got the pyramids. We have Nubian societies. And my children, when I was teaching, were oftentimes wanting to get some kind of understanding and remembering of what it was that I kept saying to them was our African heritage. So I made up a little poem for them. So I'm going to share it with you now. And this is when I was teaching 8th grade. Oh, back in ago. We're an African people. We're related, you and I. African by heritage beneath God's sky. We have a common bloodline. We're the first to walk this earth. Black, red, tan, and gold. We're the first of human birth. We built the pyramids. And yes, we made the Sphinx. We sailed the ocean wide, and with Mexico we linked. We used the Nile River to cultivate the land. And then we used technology to pull crops from sand. The Greeks came to African universities. We taught them how to diagnose and do brain surgery. We taught them math, geometry, and then we taught them trig, physics, and astronomy. Oh, yes, we did. They studied our religion and they learned our culture too. They listened well to Aesop, the fables known to you. Iron, salt, and chromium are wealth Africa holds. Diamonds for Cleopatra, and ivory and gold. Well, this is just a tidbit of ancient Africa. She civilized the whole wide world. We owe it all to her. We're an African people. We're an African people. We're an African people. We're African. So just a little poem that I put together for them, just to highlight some of the great accomplishments and to have them to hold on to that. Kiru? So we have here the ancient Nubian kingdoms, and we know that when we hear about the Egyptians and the great work and the accomplishments and the civilizations and the technology that they used, they themselves said they looked south to Nubia for their inspiration, for their roots, for their culture. So we know the Nubians were Black, ebony, melanated people, and the Egyptians said that they looked south to Nubia as a kingdom of inspiration for them.
And Egypt was also known as Kemet, the land of the Black people. So Kemet is something that we often use to describe Egyptians. Kemet.
And also Al-Kebalan, a term that's used also for Egypt.
Just remember, this is way back when. Sometimes you'll hear Abyssinia, you hear Nubian. We were blessed to have gone to Kemet, Egypt, and we went to some of the Nubian villages, and we was so spiritually blessed to travel along the Nile River and dip our hands in the Nile River water and put some of the water on our face, and it was just a real deep experience. But just think of this. Pre-colonial Africa, we didn't have no unemployment. We didn't have no homelessness. We didn't have the stuff that we have now. So people think we made so much progress, and we did if you start from slavery. But if you start from Africa, we got a long ways to go to get back to the pre-colonial period when we were in charge of our communities, where we were in charge of our wealth in Africa. And that's what we're really fighting for.
We're going to move to our next slide that we're going to see.
Mansa Musa, ruler of the Kingdom of Mali from 1312 to 1337, was one of history's wealthiest individuals. With an estimated net worth of $400 billion, his kingdom spanned West Africa, prospering from trade in salt, ivory, and gold. In 1324, during his pilgrimage to Mecca, he traveled with an entourage of tens of thousands, each camel carrying 136 kilograms of gold. When he went to Cairo, he gave away so much gold to the people that the value of gold in Egypt decreased for the next 12 years. Mansa Musa also invested in education and architecture, bringing architects from the Middle East and Africa to build libraries, universities, and schools in cities like Timbuktu and Gao. His huge wealth even made its way to Europe, where medieval maps depicted him on a throne holding a nugget of gold and golden staff, symbolizing his vast riches. For more mind-blowing history facts, subscribe.
Thank you.
Mansa Musa, we just stay back on Mansa Musa for a minute. Mansa Musa,
ruler of the...
Again, just right. Mansa Musa, you're going too fast.
Mansa Musa, ruler of the Kingdom of Mali from 1312 to...
Understand. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Mansa Musa, ruler of the Kingdom of Mali from 1312 to 1337, was one of history's wealthiest.
Mansa Musa, we just want to remind everybody that Dr. Smalls, when he was on, he said Mansa Musa, and you heard it in the tape, really wrecked Egyptians' economy because he gave out so much gold all over the place that it actually hurt Egypt. But we wanted to mention him anyway because of the great universities of Timbuktu, Mali, and all of. We have a comment in there.
found the work of Cheikh Ante Diop extremely helpful in understanding Kemet.
Yes, absolutely. Sheikh Anta Diop and understanding Kemet. We thank you for that. But yes, so Mansa Musa, you know, he did great things. Mali, Janae, and Timbuktu, Gal, these were the institutions that civilized the world. They intellectualized the world, came there for us. Okay, we can go back to the video.
I think we're going now to the Maroons.
Mm-hmm. Now, in a lot of colonies across the world, we had maroon communities. These were communities that during the slavery period, when they would free themselves from enslavement and set up maroon colonies, these were communities set up all over the country, all over the world, wherever we were enslaved. The Maroons were a mighty, mighty people, and you'll see some of them as we go to the next slide. Maroons, the famous Maroon villages was Queen Nanny of Nanny Town in Jamaica, and Gaspa Yanga of Yanga Town in Veracruz, Mexico. These were Maroon villages, both of them. Nanny went up to the Blue Mountains in Jamaica, wasn't conquered and was freed. Yanga, he went up to the mountains and Veracruz, and he was freed for 30 some odd years and helped to get others out of enslavement from the Spaniards. And we built our own Maroon villages, had our own government, had our own resources. We made sure the resources were ours. Next. You can next. Now this is just you can go back to that other one. This is a little gay privilege. The slap heard around the world. I just throw this in every chance I get.
Gillespie, Mr. Endicott, this here is Virgil. Mr. Tibbs.
How do you do, sir?
Oh, may I have Henry fetch you something? Some light refreshment?
No, thank you. We're right the way we are. I'll have something cold. Something soft. Anything.
Henry, bring in a pitcher of lemonade. I have one, too.
Yes, sir. Oh, I didn't know it was possible to grow this species locally.
Oh, you like flowers?
I do.
Well, Mr. Tibbs, do you know anything about orchids?
Well, not very much, but I do like them.
Well, let me show you. Endicott's Folly. What do you think?
It's beautiful. It's breathtaking.
Have you a favorite, Mr. Tibbs?
Well, I am partial to any of the epiphytics.
Why, isn't that remarkable? That of all the orchids in this place, you should prefer the epiphytics. I wonder if you know why.
Maybe it would be helpful if you'd tell me.
Because, like the Negra, they need care and feeding and cultivating. And that takes time. That's something you can't make some people understand. That's something Mr. Colbert didn't realize.
Is this what the epiphytics root in?
My point. They thrive on it. Take it away from them, they do poorly.
What do you call this material?
That's osmondin, fern root.
Well, we don't want to take any more of your time, Mr. Endicott.
Why'd you two come here?
To ask you about Mr. Colbert.
Let me understand this. You two came here to question me?
Well, your attitudes, Mr. Endicott, your points of view are a matter of record. Some people, well, let us say the people who work for Mr. Colbert might reasonably regard you as the person least likely to mourn his passing. We were just trying to clarify some of the evidence. Was Mr. Colbert ever in this greenhouse, say last night about midnight?
Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Now, you might be saying, what does this have to do with our history? I say everything, because Sidney Poitier, they gave him acknowledgement for Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, an interracial piece. They acknowledged them for Lilies of the Field, an Oscar for Running Around with Some White Nuns. This is what he should have gotten an Oscar for, because I heard that was spontaneous. It wasn't a part of the script, but he slapped them. So that's just my little diversion for a minute. Let's go back to our video. The community of Fort Mose, St. Augustine, another Black community, 1738. We're going to move a little faster. We controlled everything. Next. Seneca Village in Manhattan.
Seneca Village was a community where there were free Africans who were living there. Native Americans were living there. They had a whole community. They had schools, they had churches, they had shops, but they were in an area that was prime real estate.
That's right.
And so the city used eminent domain. New York City used eminent domain, knocked all of that, took all of their property, and it is now Central Park. All of that area in Central Park, prime real estate surrounding it on the four sides of north, east, south of that park were inhabited by that time by Africans, and they took their property. And you know, they gave them pennies on the dollar, dispersed them, and destroyed that colony.
And the reason why they took that property, and the reason why Black Africans bought that property is because Black men were given the right to vote before white women even. And so, but you had to own property to vote. This is why they bought up property all over the place. Next, Weeksville, and this is 1838, right in Brooklyn. And we have a little clip that we want to show you on Weeksville. It was in Brooklyn. And by the way, now that we're talking about Weeksville, in Brooklyn, they still have
we'll come back to that one.
Okay.
We'll go back to the video.
So Weeksville is an important community in Brooklyn, New York. It's a community that's located, if you're familiar with Brooklyn, it's along Atlantic Avenue, which was a major thoroughfare. It's not far past Utica Avenue. And it was a hub. It was, as other Black communities, two brothers who purchased that property and said that they wanted to create an environment and a community where intellectuals could come, where people who wanted to be business people could come, where those who were just hardworking, earnest Black people could come. And they established a community there on Weeksville. It's on Buffalo Avenue, and it's not far from what was also the Black orphanage. There was 2 blocks up from where the Weeksville community was. So there was work that was done. They wanted to destroy these old houses, but there was a sister named Joan Maynard who was adamant. She was relentless that this was an important part of our history and that these houses need to be preserved. I think we have it now.
Yes.
Where we uncover the untold stories of Black pioneers who shaped the world. Welcome to Black History X, where we uncover the untold stories of Black pioneers who shaped the world. Before there was Black Wall Street, there was Weeksville, a thriving Black community founded in 1838 in Brooklyn, New York. Established by James Weeks, a free Black man, Weeksville became a beacon of Black excellence, economic empowerment, and self-sufficiency. Let's dive into 5 key facts about this historic community. Fact 1. founded as a safe haven for free black people. In 1838, just 11 years after New York abolished slavery, James Weeks, a former longshoreman, purchased land in Brooklyn. His goal? To create a self-sufficient black community free from racial oppression. Weeksville provided a safe space for black families, many of whom had escaped slavery or were fleeing the restrictive black codes of the South. Fact 2. A hub of black excellence and economic power. Weeksville quickly became one of the largest independent black communities of its time, home to black-owned businesses, churches, newspapers, and schools. By the 1850s, it had a population of over 500 black residents, including doctors, teachers, and skilled tradesmen, proving that black self-sufficiency was possible even in a racially hostile America. Fact 3. Political and social activism. Weeksville residents were at the forefront of the civil rights struggle. The community served as a base for abolitionist movements, women's rights activism, and early suffrage efforts. It also hosted anti-slavery meetings and provided shelter to fugitives escaping through the Underground Railroad. Fact 4. Home to New York's first black newspaper. In 1863, Weeksville was home to the Freedman's Torchlight, one of the first black newspapers in New York City. This publication gave a voice to black Americans, advocating for racial justice, education, and economic independence. Fact 5. Rediscovered and preserved as a historic landmark. By the 20th century, Weeksville had been nearly forgotten until a 1968 preservation effort led by historian Joan Maynard uncovered its last remaining homes. Today, the Weeksville Heritage Center keeps the legacy alive, ensuring that this vital chapter of black history is never erased.
I do want to say this about Weeksville. It still exists as a monument, a beautiful building we reserved and some of the housing around it. And this queen here celebrated her 80th birthday at the Weeksville beautiful, beautiful community center, Weeksville.
Beautiful
Next.
place. If you're coming to Brooklyn, check it out.
Check it out. Next. Nicodemus in Kansas. Look at these dates now. 1877, we had our own community. The dollar went 3, 4, 5 times before it left. Most of the times, it didn't even leave because we owned everything. This was segregation. And I'm not saying we love segregation, but surely integration hurt, because when we were segregated, we took care of business. They may have had their little racist segregation, but we said, fine, okay, you don't want us with you? We'll build our own communities. All those communities that we have shown you so far was before we even get to the 1900s. Next. Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898. We had our own community. We owned everything, the land, the institutions, the economy, everything. Next. Sweet Auburn in Atlanta, Georgia.
This is a community that's very popular. It had a lot of middle-class folks that were living there. But again, when we came together, we had our support for one another. We had the businesses. We traded with one another. We had skills amongst one another. And we were circulating that dollar over and over and over and over before it left our community, if in fact it left our community, because we understood how important it was to share our dollars and keep our dollars amongst us. So this again was another community in Atlanta.
Next. Everybody knows about this one, and that is Tulsa, Greenwood. You know, before Booker T. Washington started naming it Black Wall Street, it was called Little Africa. A lot of people don't know it was called Little Africa. It was really not a Black Wall Street. It was more like a Black Main Street, because it wasn't like they had some stock exchange and all of that stuff that they have on Wall Street. They had businesses, they had banks, they had rec centers, they had churches, they had schools, even oil wells, even oil wells. There was over 40, 50 Black communities in Oklahoma. Everybody was going to Oklahoma to buy land and set up towns. We had about 50. This is 2026, the 21st century. We don't have a single Black community in the country that's like Tulsa, Rosewood, Nicodemus, any of these country communities that we're sharing with you now. Not a single one. Do you have the tape on Tulsa? And it's a beautiful thing to go through this, to know that in the 21st century, the money we have, the population we have, is this the one from CNN? Do the one from CNN that I sent you. Yes, that's it. Okay, go for it.
After unarmed father Terrence Crutcher was shot and killed by police, hundreds protested here in Tulsa. What many didn't know is that nearly 100 years ago, on these very streets on which they were marching, hundreds of African Americans were killed in one of the darkest chapters of Tulsa's and America's history. A lot of folks around here used to whisper about it over the decades, but nobody, Black nor white, wanted to talk about it. And that history was being forgotten. Before it happened, Tulsa was the scene of a thriving, wealthy Black community.
Black Wall Street was the most prosperous Black-owned business district in 1921.
This was Black Wall Street. There were hundreds of Black-owned businesses, everything from banks to pharmacies to the doctor's office. And Black folks were making really good money. There were even 2 movie theaters, all Black-owned and operated. Segregation was in full effect. We heard that there was a gentleman who owned a plane. Is that true?
Simon Barry was a pilot and owned his own plane.
Black folks were rich here, basically. They lived very good lives.
Many of them, yes. Yes, which caused some envy and anger among white people who commented, how dare those Negroes have a grand piano in their house and I don't have a piano in my house.
1921 rolls around. What happens?
Some type of confrontation between Blacks and whites was inevitable because of the racial climate at that time, because of the presence of the Ku Klux Klan in almost every aspect of our society. But on this particular day, May 31st, 1921, a young Black male named Dick Rowland, who worked as a shoe shine boy in downtown Tulsa, went into the Drexel building where he had been given permission to get water and use the restroom. There was a young white girl named Sarah Page who was an elevator operator. And Dick Rowland every day would go into the elevator with Sarah Page. On this particular day, after the elevator doors closed and Sarah Page and Dick Rowland were alone in the elevator, a few moments later, there was a scream, the elevator doors opened, Dick Rowland ran and was later arrested, and Sarah Page initially claimed that she had been assaulted.
Brown says Page never pressed charges, but authorities did, and the damage was done. By the end of the day, the rumor mill said Page had been raped.
As word spread, angry whites were determined that they were going to take matters into their own hands.
A large crowd of white residents gathered at the courthouse. They demanded Dick Rowland be lynched. How did the Black community respond to that demand to lynch this young man?
They were willing to risk their lives. They knew that they would be risking their lives to help defend Dick Rowland. And thousands of whites gathered in front of the courthouse. A white man approached a Black man with a gun. He said, "What are you going to do with that gun?" He said, "I'm going to use it if I have to."
The 2 men argued. There was a struggle over the gun. It fired. The white resident was shot. All hell broke loose.
Blacks retreated to the Greenwood district where they set up a barrier at the railroad tracks and were able for a short time to keep whites from invading their community. But because they were so outnumbered and outgunned, whites eventually broke through the railroad tracks and invaded what was home to Black Wall Street, the Greenwood district.
This was the result. 35 city blocks of the Black neighborhood burned to the ground. Historical photos show Black residents shot dead in the streets. The historical account is that at least 300 people were killed.
There were children that were here that had been armed by their parents, that had been told that they could come down to Greenwood and shoot and kill an innocent person. Those are the same people that we grew up with in our communities, that were a part of our society.
How many Black people lost their lives?
There's really no way of knowing exactly how many people lost their lives, potentially thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
What is worse, survivors say they remember death not just in the streets, but raining down from the sky.
Many of our race riot survivors have commented that they remembered seeing planes flying overhead, dropping bombs, dropping nitroglycerin bombs.
Mrs. Hazel Smith Jones is believed to be the last living survivor in Tulsa. She's 97 years old.
My daddy wasn't at home, just the kids and mama. They came and got us.
Was it white people from the city?
And got us to fairground. And we was there for about 2 or 3 days.
To the fairgrounds?
And my dad didn't know where we were.
Did your family want to leave?
My mother, you know, with all this stuff going on, she thought it might have been safer with them taking us out there and live with more people.
Everyone called it a race riot. The opinion piece in the newspaper condoned it, calling Greenwood Niggertown. Do you consider it a riot?
No, ma'am. It was really murder. It was a massacre. My grandmother was awakened at night and just told to run. Just get up and run. And they ran. She was only 9. They ran for days. She got mixed up from her family and lost in a chicken coop.
Calling it a riot was convenient for a city run by whites. There's no statute of limitations for murder, but there is for a riot. For the Black victims, it was devastating.
They never received any type of justice for losing their loved ones, for losing their homes and the businesses that they worked so hard for, that they built from the ground up.
Every insurance claim from the Greenwood neighborhood was denied. The claims totaled about $2.7 million. Black Wall Street did recover, but never to its former glory. Do you think life is better for Black folks in America now?
Yeah. Some places, yes, some places not.
Thank you so much. Just want to read to you, the Justice Department said that the white mob of thousands was motivated by envy, jealousy, and greed, and that they murdered hundreds of residents in Greenwood, burned their homes, their churches, took their belongings, locked them in an internment camp, and took their property. They were never able, many of them, to get their property back. And it was an assault that was plotted by real estate speculators, businessmen, and elected officials. And Viola Floyd Fletcher was one of the she recently passed, who talked about that. And the last remaining survivor is 111 years old, and that is Leslie Evelyn Bennington Randall.
And Viola Fletcher came by the historic cultural center, Sister's Place, with the December 12th movement. We were honored to meet her. And by the way, the reason why the white woman elevator operator screamed, they said because when he got on the elevator, the Black young man, he stepped on her toe and she screamed and he got afraid, and that's why he ran down. She was never raped. They always run that down. They ran that down in Rosewood. She didn't do no charges or nothing like that. Next. Next. Rosewood in Florida. Y'all saw that picture. Same thing. Said the white woman was raped. She was not raped. She was fooling around with someone else, and her husband was suspicious of it. She blamed a Black man. Rosewood, another town that we owned everything. And they wind up burning Rosewood down and doing the same thing they did in Tulsa. Next. These are the communities that were massacred. And you see the point that they made. They said this is a murder, a massacre, not a riot, because there's no statute of limitation on murder, but there is one on a rioter. So this is very, very important. They did this in Wilmington, burnt it down. Tulsa, burnt it down. Rosewood, burnt it down. And the resiliency of those in Tulsa, after they burnt it down, they rebuilt it. And this time, the terrorist was eminent domain. The government.
Yes.
They took their property and built roads and bridges through their land. Eminent domain, which says we can take your property for the public use and build whatever we want on it. Well, especially if it's a highway or a school or a hospital. Next. We did fight back. We didn't take this stuff sitting down. Next. Next. And there were mutinies, successful mutinies. There was we call it, the slide before that, the transatlantic slave raid, not trade. They raided and stole us. And also the Arab slave raid, where millions of us were killed and millions of us were enslaved. There's no greater Holocaust than the African Holocaust. Next. We had mutinies in the Middle Passage. Next. And some of the rebellions at the P.O.W.E. River.
Yes.
And that was at the P.O.W.E. River. This was a successful rebellion. And when the Spaniards from Hispaniola came to South Carolina and the P.O.W.E. River and set up a colony there, a Spanish colony, brought 120 Africans and tried to enslave the indigenous people as well. This was the first revolt in American history. It didn't occur in 1619 when the English came to Jamestown, Virginia. It was here at the P.O.W.E. River. They whipped their butts. They joined with the indigenous people. They beat back the Spaniards. They had to fly back to Hispaniola, which is now Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and died on the journey back. And then the Africans and the indigenous people peacefully lived together after this victory. Next. And we told you about Casper Yanga and Veracruz. Next. Matter of fact, they still call it Yangatown now. And the enslaved Africans and their rebellion in New York City. They burnt down the governor's mansion and burnt up property. This is why slavery was abolished in 1827 in New York, because of these kinds of rebellions, not because of abolitionists negotiating and some legislation only. It was mainly because Africans rose up and demanded their freedom by any means necessary. Next. And we told you about Nanny of the Maroons. Next. The Stono Rebellion was another powerful rebellion. 1739. Tell our children that our people rose up and they took the lives of their slave masters and they went to gun stores that the slave, not masters, European enslaver, we don't have masters, and they were able to successfully go all the way for years until sellouts finally sold them out and they stopped the rebellion. Next. Same thing in New Orleans. They learned from the Haitian Revolution in 1804. And so in New Orleans in 1811, they rose up and wanted to turn New Orleans into independent African state. They made it right at the front doors, but they were sold out by traders, you know, those who are on the side of our oppressors. Next. Madison Washington, he liberated his wife from enslavement after he was freed in Canada. He was re-enslaved on a slave ship, Creole, but he successfully rose up, took over the ship, went back to the Bahamas, and then from the Bahamas, they went back to Africa, freed themselves. Tell our children about that one. Next. Next. And the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, we always want to honor the Black Panther Party because they also liberated a lot of us from the mental slavery of colonialism and fed children breakfast and had free health clinics and had a Black Liberation Army that was fighting for our freedom. This is Sekou Odinga, may he rest in peace. And we were very instrumental in fighting to get a lot of our Black Liberation Army members freed. We should never forget them. Jalil Montekim, Herman Bell, Seth Hayes, and so many others. So the Jericho movement is working on that now. And Inez and I were honored to go visit Mumia Abu Jamal and spend 5 hours talking to him, and he's still talking about freedom and liberation. Next. Now, we want to definitely talk about the Sahel Revolution, and check out this video. West Africa, critical.
Imagine a land rich in minerals but trapped in poverty. For decades, foreign corporations mined gold, uranium, and other resources from Africa's Sahel region, while local populations saw little benefit. Today, a new generation of young, visionary leaders in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are rewriting that story. They're challenging powerful multinational corporations and reshaping the future of their countries, and all of Africa. In this video, we'll look at how Captain Ibrahim Traore, Colonel Assimi Goïta, and General Omar Chiani are leading an economic revolution that's breaking away from foreign exploitation. They're turning the tables on international corporations, arresting top executives, and reasserting control over Africa's resources. Stick with us, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more insights on Africa's transformation. Now let's dive in. It's not every day that you hear about executives from large mining companies being arrested. But in Mali, this is exactly what's happening. Just recently, Mali's government detained the CEO and 2 executives from Resolute Mining, an Australian-based mining company, as part of a crackdown on foreign corporate exploitation. This wasn't an isolated incident. Earlier this year, officials from Barrick Gold, the second largest gold mining company in the world, were also arrested. The reason? These companies had amassed huge debts in unpaid taxes, totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. They were refusing to pay Mali what it was owed, and the government took action. Western media outlets, however, have twisted the story, framing Mali's crackdown as targeting European nationals. They refuse to recognize this as an economic revolution. But let's make one thing clear. This movement isn't about targeting people. It's about reclaiming African wealth. For years, foreign corporations have paid minimal taxes while extracting billions in resources. These resources power economies in Europe and North America, yet leave African countries impoverished. The latest arrests are part of a larger movement led by Mali's Assimi Goïta, Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traore, and Niger's Omar Chiani, 3 leaders determined to shift the balance of power. Together, they're creating a new economic order in the Sahel. They're standing up against outdated mining agreements made during the colonial era that allowed corporations to take what they wanted.
Good. I just wanted y'all to get a little taste of what's happening in the Sahel region. You see, in the 21st century, it is incredible that we now have African liberation unlike we've ever seen. France, America fleeing, and the gold in Burkina Faso is now being kept by the people of and benefiting the people of Burkina Faso. They canceled their national debt of $4.7 billion because they told France, get the hell out of Africa, take America with you, and leave our gold behind. So this is the rise that's going on in the Sahel Revolution. So we go all the way back from some of the revolutionary movements and fighting for our liberation, building our own communities, to now Africa is on the move to get rid of the neo-colonial black sellout sycophant puppets of France and America. We have some right here in the United States. A lot of the Democratic black leadership are neo-colonial sellout sycophant puppets. We got to have a Sahel experience right in the belly of the beast. Next.
We're pleased to be able to bring this information to you and invite you to further explore the topics that we've just touched on very briefly, just giving you little snippets of that. But you can always go back, review this video, and go further deep into what it is that these institutions and these communities brought to our people.
And don't be overly alarmed with the State of the Union address that Trump did, because there's a State of the African Union or the Black Union or the Black community internationally and domestically that's in a state of crisis, it's in a state of emergency, and we got to learn how to unite with each other and focus on our true enemy and not each other. We got to call our sellouts and sambos for what they are. If they're on the side of our oppressors, then they're against the liberation of our people.
That's right.
You cannot love Dr. Martin Luther King and say you don't love socialism, because he was a socialist. You cannot say how much you love Malcolm X and wear X and have these things, all of this culture around Malcolm, and then you don't want to live by any means necessary and you don't believe in nationalism. So we say that we are excited about the future. Yes, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But the dollar is on the decline. The American empire is on the decline. The two parties in America are imploding, the Republicans and the Democrats. No matter what lackeys they put up there, Hakeem Jeffries, Gregory Meeks, are sellouts for imperialism and for domestic colonialism and for supporting the genocide in Palestine and the genocide in Africa with AFRICOM. Those days are numbered. Yes, it's going to get worse, but ultimately we will win.
Our victory is certain. Our ancestors have brought us to this point. We know we have a great legacy. We know that they are watching us and encouraging us and expecting us to continue the race.
That's right.
And we've got to do that. We've got to bring the consciousness level of people higher. We're not existing in isolated blocks. We've got to reach out, form alliances with like-minded people, people who are engaged in fighting for our liberation. Got to elevate the consciousness, make alliances with those people, and continue to fight, and bring our young people in. Bring our young people in as well, so that they will be aware of what this struggle is, aware of our history, the sacrifices that were made, and the obligations that we have to continue to fight.
So we say, long live the spirit of Khalid Rahim. We're going to have a future program on him. Brother Khalid, wherever you rest in Allah's breast, we're going to continue the fight. We're going to continue the work that you've done and so many have done before you. So as we say each and every week, we say to you, the truth shall set you free. And power is the great equalizer. Black power.
Black power.
Straight ahead.